So within the same year of Horizon Zero Dawn's release, a large expansion was both announced and published called The Frozen Wilds. Now, unlike my experience with the base game, I actually have never played this expansion before. As I mentioned in my Horizon Zero Dawn video, card at the top, wink wink, I initially thought the original game was fine overall, but I never had the urge to go back and replay it. Truthfully, I wasn't even aware that there was an expansion until the complete edition was ported to the PC in 2020, so it goes without saying that this flew under my radar. So today, we're going to be diving in to see what I missed out on with this expansion. Does it address some of the issues that I had with the base game? And is it worth playing instead of just going through the main story? Well, let's talk about Horizon Zero Dawn: The Frozen Wilds. Let me say right off the bat that The Frozen Wilds is an expansion that I believe truly features some of the absolute best moments that Horizon Zero Dawn has to offer. This is a DLC that really adds a lot to what worked in the base game, iterates on those ideas to make them fresh, while also rectifying some of the things that I took issue with. We see an entirely new region for Aloy to explore, a new story and characters to interact with, several new enemies to fight, new weapons to collect, new challenges and side quests to complete, and even smaller additions like a new currency, a whole new skill tree, and some graphical animations that I think really make this area feel incredibly distinct from the rest of the game. These are all phenomenal additions to what I think is already a very good game, and in many ways, I think the content in this expansion surpasses what we even saw in Vanilla Horizon. Not to the point where I think it will necessarily change someone's mind if they didn't enjoy the base game, but for those that are looking for a little bit more, then they will find this more than satisfying enough. I'm going to start this breakdown with something that was one of the biggest surprises that I had with the Frozen Wilds, and that was the different graphical additions that I saw throughout my playthrough. I don't recall too many DLCs adding this much to the graphical department outside of a few new art assets, but holy shit, this expansion actually added a ton of new stuff. Getting some of the more obvious stuff out of the way, of course all the landscapes look stunning, and the new environments add some more variation to the game's already lush vistas. Seeing the multicolored pools of water scattered across the backdrop of the snowy mountains was visually splendid. Speaking of the snowy tundra, one thing I was very surprised to see was the tracks that Aloy was leaving behind as she traveled. You can even do the same things with the snowflakes that are touching the water. I don't recall snow ever being deep enough in the base game to have this effect, but man, this was a very nice touch. Coupled with the new animations of Aloy trudging knee-deep through the snow and scaling up steep mountain cliffs, and you have a very strong addition to what I think is already a beautiful game. The new region to discover looks to be about a third of the size of the game world from the base game. With that being said, this is easily, in my opinion, the best area of that game purely from an environmental design perspective. The Cut, as the region is called, takes place in Grand Trenton and Yellowstone National Park, a bit north of where the base game takes place. The landscape is filled with snow, vision is often obscured by storms, and the inhabitants of the Cut, both the Banuk tribe and the machines, are some of the toughest things in all of the lands. This setting is both visually beautiful and oppressive, leading to a great dichotomy of the area. Throughout the Cut, Aloy will experience a ton of different locations, including the small villages that the Banuk occupy, to the old ruins that used to be drone hangars, to the biggest cauldron in the game, to even the inside of an active volcano. Because the area is smaller, it feels a lot more dense with content, and honestly, I think it's a vast improvement over what we saw in the base game. When it comes to the main quest introduced in the Frozen Wilds, I also think this is another strong point. I personally recommend going here after getting the upgraded spear from Silence, but you can really go here as soon as you leave the Embrace if you want to get some high-end items early. The story follows Aloy as she helps the Banuk tribe fight off more dangerous variants of machines, find their shaman, eventually become the tribe's chief, and it all culminates with freeing the AI that was being held captive by one of Gaia's subsystems and a new character sacrifice to see that happen. The story is something that holds a little bit more emotional weight than the main plot, and I actually think all the new characters introduced are pretty interesting. From the gameplay side of things, we get to travel to a ton of new areas, but we also get some gameplay variations with leading characters through some dungeons, as well as the occasional puzzle thrown in. I like both of these sections a lot, and it gives me something to maybe look forward to whenever I get around to playing this game's sequel. The thing that really takes the cake for me when it comes to the new addition to the Frozen Wilds has to be the side quests. Helping an accused killer clear his name to avoid exile, saving 2 warriors who hadn't returned from their trial, or even just helping 3 hunters come up with a name for their group. I think these are all decently fine side quests. However, the quest Waterlog is an absolutely amazing side quest. This quest starts out simple: help lower the water in the river by fixing the dams so someone can get into the bunker that is important to their family. The quest eventually turns into rescuing a bit of an eccentric character and helping him get something that was important to him by doing some jumping puzzles to lower the dam water, which also has a tangible effect on the open world. I love quests that start out simple and get more complex as they continue, and have a tangible effect after the player completes them. And this is a great example of both of those things. Plus, the writing for all these quests ranges from showing some actual emotional depth to being quite genuinely funny. There are of course some more errands to do, which are about the same, but man, just these few side quests really elevated the experience in my opinion. With a new region to explore, we can also expect some more open world activities to complete, and there are quite a few of them. So there really isn't much in the way of new things to do outside of a new collectible. Instead, what we already have has been improved upon and fleshed out. For instance, there's a new bandit camp, but this time this bandit camp has a unique boss fight with a new weapon as a reward. Or how about the new tall neck that requires the player to actually repair it and free it from its bed of ice in order to climb? Or how about by far the biggest cauldron in this game? Or how about the new hunter trials that provide some of the most difficult challenges in all of Horizon Zero Dawn? Seriously, the new hunter trials are awesome. Having to use limited ammo to take down as many machines as possible, killing some of the most difficult creatures under a strict time limit, or even using the new weapon to kill as many things as possible. It's all great stuff. So with the main plot hook being about the new dangerous machines that Aloy has to encounter, what do we got? First and most prominently would be the demonic machines. These are essentially just the corrupted machines from Vanilla Horizon, but scaled up to endgame. Nothing really exciting here. Next are the control towers, which essentially heal all the machines in an area while putting out an electrical pulse to drop the player's shield. These are actually pretty easy to deal with, and hacking them actually gives out a free stun to all nearby machines, which is pretty helpful. Next up is the Scorcher. These are pretty similar to the Ravagers in the vanilla game, but much more agile and aggressive. I think these guys provide a good challenge, and I enjoy fighting them. Lastly, we have two variations on our hands, the Fire Claw and the Frost Claw. This very well might be one of the most complex and dangerous machines in the game. Being able to switch between a quadruped and a bipedal stance that have a very slightly different pool of attacks, as well as these attacks being very strict with their dodge timing, makes these guys some of the most versatile foes in all of Horizon Zero Dawn. The Frozen Wilds give Aloy access to 3 new weapons, which are all very similar in idea, but I still enjoy nevertheless. These will be the Forge Fire, Ice Rail, and Storm Singer. Essentially, these are some heavy weapons that deal the best elemental damage in the game to their corresponding type. I think it's kind of interesting how you go about getting these weapons, as you receive them from playing through the main quest, but you can also upgrade them later through an optional side quest. I think these weapons are pretty damn strong, but honestly, I didn't use them too much since I found just having all the elemental bows equipped to be a little bit more versatile. Speaking of bows, there exists the Banuk variant of the 3 main bows, which is a nice option if you want to try to go here early to get the strong endgame gear. But again, I didn't use these too much because the weapons I had from the Hunter's Lodge were the better options. Though these bows do have a unique overdraw mechanic that can be fun to play around with. Rounding off our synopsis of the Frozen Wilds, let's have a quick lightning round of minor additions with this expansion. First off, there's a new currency called Blue Gleam. It's essentially as a way to gate the player out of running right into the cut and getting high-end weapons only 10% of the way through the base game, but other than that, I think it's pretty unimportant. On the flip side, the new skill trees add some new perks for repairing your mount, adding the ability to pick up loot while mounted, and increasing the inventory amount, as well as a chance for rare items to spawn. Yeah, spec hard into this tree. These are all massively important. Speaking of importance, this area also has some of the best armor you can receive outside of the Shield Weaver, and has by far the best weapon and armor modifications in the whole game. All minor things that I really do think add a ton to the overall experience. So, is Horizon Zero Dawn: The Frozen Wilds worth playing? Personally, I think this expansion outdoes the vanilla experience by nearly every single margin. The writing saw a big improvement in the main story and side quests, the environment is beautiful and immersive, and the new challenges are some of the hardest in the game but provide the best rewards. I loved how the game added puzzles to the mix and expanded upon the ideas of what the open world activities looked like in the vanilla game. However, while all of these things are great, I still don't believe this is going to change anybody's mind that disliked Horizon Zero Dawn, but instead this is something that was made for the people that were already fans of the original game. If open world games aren't your thing, then this is a pretty safe thing to skip, but if you're like me though, and you had fun with Horizon, then this is an easy recommendation and something that I think you're going to find a lot of enjoyment in. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for watching. What was your favorite memory of Horizon Zero Dawn: The Frozen Wilds? Please be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section down below, and hey, if you enjoyed today's video, maybe consider giving it a like and subscribing. Thank you guys again, and I'll catch you in the next video.